Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2017, and welcome to episode number 60 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Big T, right here with you, and I have a very special guest for all of you today, and I'm so honored to introduce this person to all of you. This is probably, I would say, one of the biggest guests on the show to date, and I couldn't be more honored than to have her here right now. We have Jeanie Clarke with us, also known as Lady Blossom. How are you doing today, Jeanie?
Hi, I'm doing great, little hay fever, and very, very grateful for you having me on the show.
Oh, I'm more than happy to have you here. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let's start off the show. Let's get the audience familiar with you. And I'm going to start off by asking this simple question. Around how old were you, would you say, when you discovered pro wrestling and then you thought to yourself, like, wow, I love this.
Okay, I'm getting a little feedback, a little echo. Did you say how old was I when I got started?
Oh, can you hear me better now?
I can hear you better now, yeah.
Okay, then I'll sit up closer like this.
No problem.
I want to ask you, how old were you approximately when you first discovered pro wrestling and you thought to yourself, this is something that I really want to do. I know I want to get in the pro wrestling business. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
No, not at all. I'll tell you how it happened.
Okay.
I'd never seen wrestling before in my life. Basically, I had a girlfriend who I would hang out with, and we used to like going to concerts. We went see the big stars of that era, like David Bowie and shit. I would always drag her to all these concerts. Oh, we do this and that. Well, her dad was a wrestling fan, and when I would hang out with her at her house, I'd often hear in the background like the World of Sport, which was the obviously the UK wrestling show. But her dad he would go every week to the local arena where I lived. One day he got ill and he had these tickets, and my girlfriend said, "Oh, come on, let's go to wrestling." I'd never watched wrestling, and because I've dragged to see all the concerts, I felt obligated. And so the very first time I ever went to wrestling, I had no idea anything about it, to be honest. I liked it, I enjoyed it. That night at the wrestling arena, we had gone for a drink afterwards to the little bar inside the arena, and we were just about to leave, and then this guy comes up to me, he's really cute guy, good looking, little dimples, and he goes, "Hey, my name's Chris Adams," and we exchanged phone numbers, but I went home and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, how these guys probably, get numbers off of girls all the time, and they call them back next time they're in town, see if they, want to hook up or something. And I didn't think I would hear from him, and I just went about my life. And well, back then you didn't have like mobile phones or anything like that. And so my mum kept saying to me, "Oh, this guy called Chris Adams, he keeps calling you, calling back, he's getting on my nerves, he keeps calling." And I eventually, you have to be at home to get the call back then because it's just a landline. And he called me up and he said, "Would you like to go to the Birmingham Motor Show?" Which, sounded really exciting. So I went to meet Chris up in the Midlands from where I live in the London area. And, we started dating. And basically, I was 19, he was 24. And So Chris had a fan club because he's really popular with the girls. And he asked me to run his fan club, and I did that, and we ended up moving in together. And then he came up with this idea that it would be kind of cool to have this female voice, I say valet manager, but it was called a second in the British scene back then. And it was just a girl getting the ring, you know, giving his water, rubbing down and stuff like that. And, funnily enough, you know, it got really popular, and all the major newspapers here ran this story because this little glamour couple in wrestling. And so that's how I got started, just because Chris came up with that idea. And so I started traveling the halls of the UK. Dynamite Kid was there. He was about my age, about 19. Davey Boy Smith, he just started out as well. And then some of like Big McManus, Big Daddy, and Rollerball Rocco. And I was the only girl like traveling around all the UK. So that's how I got started. So just accidentally went to a wrestling show and met Chris Adams. It was cool though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you know what? That's a very interesting way, you know, to just get started, especially when you don't know anything about the business. And
No, I didn't know anything. I did get really well accepted. I was quite intimidated because there's all these guys, you know, and you know, eventually I kind of got smartened up and all that, obviously. But I'd never been to wrestling in my life, and bumped into Chris, and a week later I, you know, was running his fan club, dating, and just shortly after that I was on TV in the papers with him. So it was a really big deal for a 19-year-old girl, you know, to be like running with these wrestlers. Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah.
And you know, the interesting thing, what I love about your story is that you know how I've interviewed many people, you know, and heard many different stories, but one thing that always seems to be you know, the one thing that they all have in common is that they want to become a pro wrestler, and they're chasing after their dream, and you know, they have to go forward and get into the business. It's like you didn't know anything about it. Your friend took you to a wrestling show, and it's like the business came to you.
On all occasions, I might add, because the world class, I'm a makeup artist, I was working, and Chris phoned me up. We split up. We were still friends. And he said, "Oh, man, I've got this ex-wife angle. Will you do this again?" I didn't check. And then even into WCW, I just happened to take a call from Magnum, Terry Allen, for Steve. And he goes, "What do you do?" And, "Oh, do you want to do?" So, no, I never pursued a career, but I, you know, was just lucky that, you know, I guess that people just asked me to do that. But it, you know, it's really cool. But no, I never once sent a tape out or made a phone call to get into this industry.
Well, you know what that means? Something that I'd like to say about it and how I feel about it is you were just meant to be a part of the business then. It was just meant to be.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe so.
It was just one of those things that were, it was destined for you, it seems.
Written in the stars. Yep.
Yep. And,
yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking of, you know, back in the day, because I've watched some footage of you, you know, when you started off as Lady Blossom. And one thing I'm curious is how did the whole Lady Blossom character come about? Who invented the name Lady Blossom and got it to stick with all the fans out there?
Well, it was Dusty Rhodes, and basically I worked as Jeanie Clarke prior to Lady Blossom in World Class, doing the ex-wife angle with Steve, Chris, Tony, who was Chris's wife at the time, and myself. And when I went to WCW, I just thought, oh, they just call me Jeanie again. And then Dusty said to me, you know, I need to give you a name. And I'm going to call you Lady Blossom. I was so disappointed. Honestly, I was like, no, I hate that name, hate it. And even Steve wasn't crazy about it. And he said, oh, what else have you got then? And I was like, I'm not sure. And he said, well, there you go, there's your name, Lady Blossom. And that was it. But a long time after, I did get told that he said my boobs were blossoming out of my dress, and that's where, you know, with the lady being the English connection. So, you know, so that's his idea, the Lady Blossom, and I have never liked it, and I still find it kind of, you know, like embarrassing. I don't know, but it was good.
Now, this was around in the 80s, correct?
It was probably 2 years. It was 90, I think.
Oh, okay. Because
Steve had started in 89. I started in 1990 with World Class, and in 91 as Lady Blossom. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So you had quite an interesting, quite an interesting road, getting in the business, and now that you're getting started. And one thing that I'm curious if you're open to talk about it, believe it was your first husband from the '80s that you were married to, Billy Jack Haynes, and I know he was in the wrestling business, some time ago, and
yeah. Basically, Chris and I, we came to the States together, and we went to Los Angeles, Mexico, and then he got picked up to go to Portland. Chris is a really cute guy. He had a bit of he was a ladies' man, let's put it that way. This didn't really start until after I had my first daughter, Jade. But when we went up to Portland, it was a bit lonely for me because I did just have a baby. We'd moved into we didn't make a lot of money, so we'd moved into a little studio apartment, and I didn't drive back then. I was quite busy in Los Angeles because I've done a lot of modeling, and I also worked in a restaurant on Santa Monica Pier as a hostess, so I was quite busy, and there was a lot of public transportation in Santa Monica. So when I got to Portland, there wasn't really any, I didn't drive, and I had a baby, so stay at home. But it was a bit of a wild territory, if I'm honest, Portland, and basically Chris wasn't coming home at night, a lot of the time, and he cheated on me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, all the time, to where I felt quite humiliated, because I would go to the shows, right, and I would have my daughter and every other girl there, do you know what I mean? So it was quite humiliating. And I think New Year's Eve, I think it was, if I can remember, he didn't come home, and he didn't call, or anything, and and I knew, and I'd heard he had a lot of other women. Well, Billy Jack, he'd come over to meet Chris for some reason, and he kind of was looking all sad, and and I was looking all sad. I might have to go home because I was going to leave Chris because, after all, he was cheating all the time, and obviously that was destroying my self-confidence and my self-esteem. And Billy, he did say to me, he'd help me out, and I did get married to Billy. He looked after me for a little while, and I'm still friends. I haven't talked to him much. I talked to him like once when my book came out, because he called me up and said, well done on your book. But Billy and I got married, but I don't think we were sort of ever going to last as a really long relationship. But obviously I got a green card, and I didn't have to leave because when I was working in LA, I was getting like cash in hand because I was British and I legally couldn't work. So so I married Billy Jack, and he did look after me, and he got me driving lessons, and it is what it is. You're young, you're naive. I was a single mom. I didn't have any family, any friends. So, he came along and it was a support for me whilst I was going through a lot of, obviously, it was very painful and very hurtful that my boyfriend, Chris Adams, was, not being faithful to me, and I had his baby and I'd supported him, and I felt really betrayed. And I became good friends with Chris, obviously, after, but I was very angry at the time in Portland. I was 23, I think. So I married Billy, and we didn't stay married that long. I'd come back to England, and Billy actually got me an apartment in Florida because he'd moved to work. I don't know what the name now is of the Florida territory, but I believe Dusty ran it. I'm not sure. But he helped me out, and I came back to the States, and he got me an apartment and a car. So, I'm not going to, he did kind of look after me, but it wasn't meant to be. So we got a divorce. Yeah, and I was, and I lived in Florida for about 7 years working as a makeup artist before Chris called me up and asked me to come to Dallas.
Hmm. And then you ended up going up to Dallas, and that's when everything took off, huh?
Yeah, I went to Dallas because originally Chris had an idea to put me with Gino Hernandez, and Chris got me an apartment next door to Gino Hernandez. The terrible sadness is that Gino died of 3 months when I got there. Obviously, that was really, really bad. I felt so sad when that happened. It wasn't till a couple of years later that Chris phoned me up again, and he said, I'm starting a wrestling school. That's very cool, And he said, I have quite a lot of students, but there's this one guy in particular called Steve Williams, who I believe has some potential. And that was obviously Steve Austin, but he came in, and so Chris put me with Steve and him and Tony, and we had a really, really hot feud going there. Jerry Jarrett was running that territory at the time, and wasn't long before Steve and I started dating. Yeah. So.
And now that you reach that point, I'm just thinking, I heard you say, you and Steve started dating, and, we all know that Steve Austin was, and maybe, still is, one of the biggest names to ever come through the wrestling industry. And, I'm just thinking, like, you and Steve started dating, and I know you guys also ended up getting married, and, all that stuff. If you would care to, would you be willing to share with us your relationship
Steve
with Stone Cold?
obviously. Yeah. Steve and I obviously worked WCW. One of the last matches I was in, Halloween Havoc. Prior to that big show, I was feeling sick quite a lot. Now, they were having me taking bumps in WCW a lot. But I had just found out I was pregnant, and obviously, I decided that I would prefer to have a family, and we did get married, and obviously Steve and I have 2 beautiful daughters, and we had he was a great dad. We had beautiful log home that we purchased, and he was stunning, Steve Austin, obviously working with WCW. He and I did a lot of fun things all the time. We'd go shooting guns and 4-wheeling, and it was great with the kids, and we were really happy, really, really happy for 4 years. Obviously, then the big crunch of sorts came when he got fired from WCW, causing him a lot of frustration. That was when Eric Bischoff fired him. He went on to ECW with Paul Heyman, and he then obviously got picked up by WWF at the time with the Ringmaster gimmick. But you see, I had such a bad childhood and moving all these territories that was my first real family home. I would be a big part of the community. I had really good friends. And then I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter Cassidy, and Steve and his mother actually said, all right, we're going back to Texas, which is fine. I've lived in Texas for 7 years, and I like Texas, but the town that the house that it's actually Vince McMahon bought us because we had some tax problems, and Vince actually owned our house. It was a very rural location. It's not all what was wrong just because it was rural. It was just that Cassie, I was 8 months pregnant. I had really bad postnatal depression, and it was just like nothing. There was a few scattered, and I was very, very, very lonely. In Steve's career was massive at this time. This would be like when he was doing a lot of other things too, like Nash Bridges, and he had his own CD, and he was really, really, really busy. And for him to relax when he came home, he would then picked up deer hunting, and he had some friends that lived a couple doors down that I didn't particularly click with, but basically I was becoming more and more isolated in the house, and I never really saw him, and I got depressed and lonely, and Steve was busy and he did his own thing, and a combination of the business and me having an addiction problem at this point, because when I had this depression, you know, I did take like things like Valium, and I don't sugarcoat it, honestly. I was an addict. The Vicodin, and I had some surgery, and basically I was becoming dependent on drugs because I didn't like the way I was feeling, which is lonely and isolated. And like I say, when he got home from being super busy with extra things to do, he would go hunting, and I just found myself getting worse and worse into this lonely depression that I was using, and it was a combination of those things that spiraled out of control. My addiction certainly spiraled out of control, and you know, and the marriage just sort of broke down. And you know, I'm not blaming Steve. I'm not totally blaming. I just think we didn't communicate our feelings. That was, you know, the issue. I didn't like the house that, actually Steve didn't like the house that Vince owned. We called it the Amityville House of Horror, and we called it that because it was spooky and cold and had no atmosphere. It was every couple that lived in that house got divorced and stuff happened, and it was just kind of like one of those houses that you would go like, doodle doodle. It was just awful, this house. So even when I couldn't leave the house, it wasn't a happy house. It was like such a contrast from a log home that was so happy and postnatal depression. I mean, I should write a book about it. I could write a new book about that. That's just an idea just come up with, because it's so destroying, and you know, and it wasn't Steve's fault that he was so busy, and he, you know, needed to relax, so he'd do his deer hunting and that, and anyway, everything just fell apart, really. There wasn't any isolated incidences of something really bad happening. It was just, you know, a combination of things like that.
Did because I know Steve, back in the day here is when his career, really took off. This is when, he was becoming that mega star and carrying the company on his back. And I'm just curious, with you guys being married at the time, did you ever consider going into WWE and having some type of role with Steve, maybe as a manager or, something? Was that ever talked
But
about?
no, it would never have been talked about. Number one, Steve really didn't like managers, period. And I had 3 kids. So I had 3 children, and who's going to look after them? So my priority was not to. I mean, you can't be with your kids and be on the road. So no, it would never have happened. I mean, I had 3, babies. So
Yeah, you know what? Going out on the road.
I mean, there's a lot of women in this industry that I was just talking to my friend about that the other day, that have not had children. If you think about it, there's a lot of women that, have their careers, but they never had any. And and I had 3. I had 3 that I would never have said, oh, who's going to look after 3 of them? I just couldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I know going out on the road, especially in the pro wrestling business, it's a lot of time, and a lot of time spent away from family.
I mean,
and
you know the schedule, do you? I mean, you'd have different city every night, a couple of days off, and then back. I mean, who's going to look after my kids and what? I would have felt really guilty. I just couldn't have done that.
Yeah, I mean, over 300 days on the road a year. And, I give you guys credit. I give you guys credit, for going out there and doing what all of you do, because over
Hey, you know what? I mean, it's like I only worked WCW for 5 months, and I was just, a girl valet who wasn't actually in the ring doing. I don't know. I found it difficult. I mean, it must have been really difficult for the guys, because they had to work and go to the gym. I mean, I can imagine how difficult it is, and it was nowhere near as much for me, just being the girl than the wrestlers themselves, So, yeah.
Now, going forward, you spoke of your relationship with Steve. You explained things about it, and then going forward to when you and Steve finally went your separate ways, when you guys ended up getting divorced, what happened afterwards? What was life like for you, going through this divorce?
Well,
and then, afterwards, like, what was your next step in life after this?
Well, here's the thing, because I was willing to sign something to stay within Texas so that the girls could see their dad, yeah, and everything would be amicable, and the girls wouldn't suffer because then they'd be with their dad. Deborah McMichael obviously married Steve, and she hated me, and unfortunately, if I would have to call Steve, say about the tax issue or something to do with the girl, she would hang up on me and stuff, because she found she must have been, not putting her down or anything, but she must have been uncomfortable because, she hadn't really sort of left the house before she was seeing him, so it was uncomfortable for her anyway. And I believe, that did put a lot of pressure on the relationship between me and Steve as parents to the girls, because Deborah was, not encouraged him to come to me to pick the girls up and that. So I had a lot of time sitting in San Antonio where he was obviously still busy. I know he had his injury around that time too, but it wasn't easy to hook up with him, with the girls, because it would cause a big confrontation between him and Deborah. He told me that himself. He did invite us to a show out in Fort Worth. And he said, "Oh, come." And I said, "Oh man, you're going to make me look like a heel to the girls because they're all excited and they've made little signs." And he said, "Oh, Deborah's going to freak out if you bring the girls to the show." And I'm like, "But I'm bringing the kids to see her, you know." She did approach me at the show, and I like that, you know. And I'm like, "Do you have a problem or something with my daughter seeing their dad?" And she ended up leaving in the car, and Steve had to get a ride with Hunter, and he called me and apologized. But I was like, man, this relationship between Steve and I as parents and the girls with Deborah is not working out, man. So I was also still using various pills, to be honest, and I kind of lost hope that this, because the children couldn't see him and he was busy and all of this. So I thought I would get better by coming to the UK because they have socialised medicine here. Because the only thing is that you can get things so much easier from what we call the marked doctors. They're the ones that gave Chris so many pills just before he died. And you know, I just thought if I came to England, I would kick my own addiction. But then 9/11 happened and he phoned me up and he said, "Don't fly." And obviously the girls need to be in school. But basically it all got messed up, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we're working on it, you know. I talked to Steve a week ago, you know. We're amicable. Everything's
It's
matter of fact, I'm taking it's a, you know, he is making more of an effort to talk to the girls as well just now, you know, and we're trying to rebuild that. I don't have any problems getting along with Steve at all. I think, you know, I'm taking this drugs and alcohol counselling course because I have 4 years clean now, by the way. I was in rehab for 6 months, and I've written extensively about all this in my book, way detail into this. But you know, I started writing notes in rehab about all my troubles in my childhood, my journey through the industry, my relationships with Chris and Chris's problems and all the stuff he had to go through, and then his death, and my drug addiction and my relationship with Steve. But the good thing that I believe has come out of it is that I found I did voluntary work in a rehab where I actually was, I can relate to the addicts because I've been there. So I just did an art therapy group. I took an art therapy group and I would to the addicts because I've been there, so I know how they feel. And I just thought I would have a more fulfilling and productive life now in my own recovery because I can help others. And I'm taking this drugs and alcohol college to become a counsellor. And actually my daughter told Steve that I think 2 or 3 days ago. And he said he was well done. He was happy for me. So everything looks okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. You know that you know you're a counselor now for you know other people that have been in your situation, and you know it's just you surely had quite the journey. Really did have quite the journey. You know throughout this this wonderful world we call
Well,
pro wrestling.
you know what's cool? Yeah. What's cool too is since I wrote my book, which was pure therapy, I certainly didn't think anyone would ever read it, and if they didn't, it would be completely worth it, because I wrote it for myself and my kids. I made amends, and if I had one copy of that book, I'd be proud of it. So it wasn't really for any other reason that this was a good therapy for me. But it's enabled me. I've been to Philadelphia and Charlotte, and I went to Cornflower Alley. I'm going to be at WrestleCade, and it's so cool to see some of the people I used to know in the industry, like I saw Magnum and Bobby Fulton, and the list goes on, and it's just like I never thought I would ever see them again, and so I've had a really great year of doing some events, working on a career now, and life is really good just now. I'm looking for a new home as well, so relocating. I don't know where to move to just yet, but I'm proud of my book. My co-author, Bradley Craig, he came up with my cover because there's when it's called Through the Shattered. Sorry, I just was getting a call coming. I thought I lost it.
That's
it's
okay.
Through the Shattered Glass. Basically, he came up with that idea because he saw was a parallel between Through the Looking Glass, which is like Alice in Wonderland, this innocent girl who'd never been to wrestling, going into this world of outlandish characters in wrestling, and he came up with the title and the cover design, and he co-authored the book with another author called Neil Cameron, and I wouldn't have done it without them. So I had a lot of support for my writing my book as well.
Yeah, your book seems like it's a fantastic read. Just from hearing, some things from you today, and you just speaking of the cover. I actually I have gotten a chance to see the cover on your Facebook page, and the cover is it's a work of art.
Yeah, he did a good job, and basically what it is the shattered glass is how the drugs had ruined my relationships, not just Steve Austin, and drugs will ruin the relationships with everyone because you're not thinking straight, and I'm sitting on a bench and I'm looking back now at how my relationship is. So that's how that title came up in about 2015. We came up with that title, and we spent a year writing it, and I'm very proud of. I'm really shocked that it got so many good reviews. And it's honest, and I just want to say, if any fans are listening just now, I'm so grateful to the fans too, because when I come out of rehab, I was really vulnerable and really lonely. It was quite daunting coming out of rehab, and I had so much support from the fans. I'm eternally grateful to them, and if they're listening, thank you so much for all your support.
Well, and I got to tell you, someone like you, I'm sure, I see that we have people listening in right now, and I'm sure, a lot of people, when this gets uploaded to iTunes, a lot of people are going to know who you are, and they're going to remember you, because one thing I noticed about the world of professional wrestling, someone could be a part of it at any given time, but it's like all the fans, when they see or hear from this person again, that was in the business, they automatically know them. It's like pro wrestling and the fans is like one big happy family almost, as I view it.
Oh, definitely. And I felt that so much at the Cauliflower Alley reunion in Las Vegas. It was just like you really can feel the family atmosphere, and the fans are in the family, and I'm always very, very grateful to the fans so much, and appreciate them so much. And I'm very fan friendly, and I love to chat to them on my Facebook Messenger and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. You are definitely fan friendly. I will say that because, yeah, it was what we just got started chatting. What was it, a couple weeks ago? And, here we are today, and you're over here giving your story, to the great listeners that I have, and all other wrestling fans that might stumble across this. And I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it, and I appreciate you being here. And one thing I do want to ask you, now that you know we pretty much covered it all, and one thing I do want to ask,
Yeah, thank you.
I know you mentioned WrestleCade. That you went to WrestleCade, and you did an appearance over there. One thing I'm curious is, do you have any other wrestling events coming up that you're going to be coming up to the States for, or doing in the UK?
Yeah, Todd, I got a little bit of a bad line and you were cutting out. Could you repeat that, sir? Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I know that you mentioned that you did WrestleCade, um, and I've heard of WrestleCade. WrestleCade is a great event, and what I'm curious is now, do you have any upcoming wrestling events on the books that you're going to be doing, or anything like that, where the fans could come out and see you, in the States or in the UK?
I'm actually the WrestleCade coming up this year. It's in November. Yeah, so that's the next big event. I do a little few small events, but that's the next one I will be at in November this year.
Oh, nice. Have you ever
Yeah.
have you ever heard of WrestleCon?
Is that the one they have like at the time of WrestleMania?
Yep, that's the big wrestling
Yeah, that would be
convention.
so cool. I'd love to do that. Yeah,
Because everybody
I would
I've
love to do
interviewed,
that.
everybody I've ever interviewed, if they haven't done WrestleCon yet, I always tell them, I'm like, looking to see if you could do WrestleCon, because I try to go down to Mania almost every year. I've been to the last 7 of them, and
Yeah.
anybody that I interview, if they ever end up at WrestleCon, I always go up to them and I'm like, hey, we finally meet. Like I love to meet the people that I've been on the air with. It's always a great time. Like, for example, I don't know if you would know this man or not, but in when I went to Orlando this year, because WrestleMania was in Orlando, I ended up
Yeah.
I interviewed back in March a photographer, who does the photography for wrestling. He's done it, I believe, for the past 37, 38 years, Mr. Bill Otten. And
Oh, I know Bill. Yes.
oh, you do?
Oh, yeah, Bill Apter.
Yep. Yeah, no, Bill
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Otten.
yeah. I know him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the blonde for the photographer with the blonde
Oh,
curly
yeah,
hair.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I met him at Icons last year, and I know him. I know him quite well. Yes.
Yeah, I got talking with him after he did photography for NXT event, and got to meet him for the first time.
Oh, yeah. He's lovely.
So, always getting to, when I get
Yeah.
to meet someone, it's always great.
Of course. Yeah. Well, hopefully I can meet you one day.
I hope so. You know what? If you ever end up going to WrestleCon, let me know.
Hey, it's in New Orleans, is it?
New Orleans,
The
yeah,
next one.
yeah.
I'll have to come there. Yeah.
They'll be up there. I'm trying to think. WrestleMania 34, I think, is April 8th, and then
Oh, I'd love to do that. I haven't been for years.
And then WrestleCon, I think, is Friday, April 6th, and Saturday, April 7th of 2018.
Okay.
If I have,
Yeah. That sounds all good.
so yeah, if you could make it up there, I would love to see you because I'm trying to actually plan my trip to go up there, and because you know how you got to plan everything ahead of time for WrestleMania. I'm sure you know how that is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'll tell you the one
And
place.
save up all your money as well.
Yeah, oh, you got to save up
Yeah,
a pretty penny for that.
that's right.
But I do gotta say, for all of the wrestling fans in America that may not know much about the UK, I wanted to touch on this real quick before I let you go. Um, Now the UK, what is the wrestling world like out there? Because I've never gotten to go out there. I've always wanted to go to the UK and experience a show out there. And I see WWE shows from the UK on TV sometimes, and the fans seem so
I guess it's yeah.
the fans seem so passionate over there. And I was just curious
They are.
if you ever got involved with anything in the UK wrestling related, and what's it like?
Um, well, it's really hot in the UK right now. I mean, they did have a bit of the comeback of World of Sport, did they? Like they had that New Year's Eve show, and then they have the WWE tournament. So there's a lot of really passionate fans here and a lot going on, yeah. But I think they've actually canned, well, I don't know, or put it off for now, the World of Sport show. But it was like a little bit like the old WCW and WWE war going on. There's like a competition again, and it always, is good, is it, for the business? So, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
It seems like a great fun time, and you know what? Hopefully,
Yeah.
WrestleMania will go there one day.
I don't know. Maybe.
But Jeanie, I'm gonna turn the floor
Big
over.
time difference, so yeah.
Yeah, you guys are what, 5 hours difference from the States?
5 Eastern time and 8 hours Pacific. So I think if they were to do a WrestleMania, that would be a little bit difficult because it's live, is it? So I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, they actually do it live. So then, let's see, they started nowadays at 7 o'clock. So it would be, let's see, they would start at 2 o'clock up here
It'd
in
be
the
midnight
east.
or after. Yeah.
They would have to start at 2 o'clock up here in the east, and then 11 a.m. in the west.
That's right.
So yeah, I definitely see where the time would come into a conflict, but that new Wembley Stadium out there with over 90,000 people, I would love to see go there and fill that place.
Oh yeah, sure. Like the big Wembley stadium here or something, or the O2.
Yeah, the O2 is the other one that actually the WWE was just at they were just at the O2, I think like 3 to 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, they go there. Yeah.
They'll go there, I believe, like twice a year for like their Raw and SmackDown tapings. They do, I believe, a round in April and then another round in November, and that's how they do it every year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. They do. Mm.
Well, Jeanie, you know what? I'm gonna turn the floor over to you right now. If you have anything that you'd like to promote, upcoming appearances or information on your book, social media outlets, anything that you want to get there out in the open, And any last words that you want to say to the fans and everything, go right ahead. The floor is yours, and take as much time as you need.
Okay. Let me see. I'm happy to personally sign copies of my book. If you contact me on my Facebook, Jeanie Clarke or Jeanie Williams, if you send me a message, I'll mail you out a signed copy. And it's a better deal actually than if you got it on Amazon.com. I can do that. And if anybody's going to WrestleCade in, I'm going to say Winston-Salem in North Carolina, I'll be there in November. And hopefully see some people there.
I'll tell you, I wish I could make it out to WrestleCade. I always end up saving my money for WrestleMania, though. It's like maybe I should switch it up 1 year. Maybe I need a little switch
up. I get that, because that's the really big show. But I'd love to do that myself. Maybe someone will bring me in.
I hope so. I'd love to see you on the guest list, and if anything happens where you get a call from them at WrestleCon, definitely give me a shout out.
I sure will.
And right now, I guess we pretty much covered everything. Actually, we covered everything pretty extensively. You gave a lot of, nice story, and I want to say
thank you.
And
much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. It was a pleasure to have you here, and please hang on the line, and I'll be back in 1 minute. I just have to sign off with the live audience. Is there any last things that you'd like to say to the fans before I sign off on the air here?
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me. I've had so much love from the fans, the great reviews on my book, and I've enjoyed meeting fans at the events that I've been to, and thank you so much.
And thank you, Jeanie, and please hang on the line. I'll be right back with you in 1 minute. I'm going to sign off with the live audience here. Everybody here that listened to episode number 60 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast, thank you very much for listening today. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in with us. And make sure you go out and you search up Jeanie Clarke, and you make sure you buy her book. You could even get signed copies from her, just like she said. You just contact her on her Messenger and her Facebook page, and she'll send you out a signed copy. Make sure you catch her out at WrestleCade later on this year in November if you're in the Winston-Salem, North Carolina area, all that good stuff. And hopefully we get maybe sometime down the line. Maybe we could have Jeanie on again sometime, down the line, and I would love to have her on again at one point if she would like to be on. And I really appreciate Jeanie for coming on. So another thank you to her and everybody here in the live audience. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm Big T. This has been episode number 60 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast for Wednesday, June 7th, 2017. Take care. I love you all. And I will see you all very soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.